Back to tutorials. This is going to be video 3, and what I wanted to start off with is, first off, this is easy research that we're pulling. This doesn't happen every time to where you're going to have 3 active, 1 pending, 4 closed, all in the same subdivision. The only reason that I pulled subdivision was because it had a subdivision that I saw happening a lot throughout that research. I mean, let's just go back to revise search and start fresh. If I were to do that same criteria that we punched in, you can see I have a lot of properties. The first thing I would say is, okay, I have so many properties. Are there a lot of properties that are within the same subdivision? And I simply started with active. I said, okay, there's 1 that's active. There's 2, 3 that are active in the same subdivision. Have any sold? And I would say, okay, there's 1 that's pending. So there's 1 that's pending. And I would say in the past 6 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties have sold in the past 6 months in that subdivision. That's quite a bit for 6 months. That's a lot of activity in a subdivision. Sometimes, a lot of times actually in Tennessee, where we're doing this research, you won't see a lot of subdivision sales that are in the same subdivision. Some properties don't even really have subdivisions in this area. So then we would just want to pull elementary school district, which is one of the criteria for every search pretty much that you're going to do, is to pull the elementary school district. The reason that we do that is because each area has an elementary school district, and all of the kids around that immediate area are going to go to that school. So if we are looking at the property such as this one on Collin, and what I want to do is I want to pull a small area around that house of what is active and pending and sold, because if a buyer is looking at a home for this home, they're probably at least going to be looking for the homes around it. So I can get a good idea as to what buyers are paying for a home such as this one. So elementary school district is going to pull about a 3/4 of a mile to a mile radius around the subject property, which is great. You can see here just an example. If I were to go ahead and select all on this, I'll show you another function that you're going to be using often, is to map the listings. So what happens is we just selected everything. You can also deselect everything. You can deselect the ones that you don't want for the search. But we're going to select all, and let's go ahead and map these listings. So once you select function and then map drops down on the drop down list, map functions or map listings. From there, you can see all of those listings that we just had pulled up. You can see on the map here, I mean, if we go, that's about a mile radius, maybe a little over a mile even, but not too much. So what I would do if I had so much research, I would write the numbers down on this one. 6, 17, and 30, they're a little too far out. So I would go back, I would say, okay, I know at least I want to look at this small area because this is where the properties, they're on the same side of a busier street. You can see New Salem Highway. When you see a bigger street such as that as opposed to these, you can tell that's probably a main street. You know, let's just zoom out. You can tell that's a main highway, you know, so on the maps. I would hope you know how to use those, but it'd be the same here. And so what we want to do is we want to at least try to keep the homes in the same area of smaller roads. So as soon as we get into bigger ones, that could be a busy street, and on the other side isn't as great of an area. So we want to make sure to take, so what I would do for this example, I would take these out, 6, 17, and 30. How you're going to do that is you would go back to list, up at the top left, click on that. So 6, 17, and 30, what I would do is I would go 6, 17, and 30. I want to take those out because I know those are too far out. I would go to narrow listings. That's going to narrow our list, take those out. Let's go ahead and select function again, and let's see if it did that. Well, so you can see there's still one that I missed. We can see we took almost everything out. Let's go back to list, take out 28. That's too far away. So let's go ahead and check that. Go to function, select function, narrow listings. And then from here, let's go ahead and map listings. Once you do that, it should be removed. Okay, for whatever reason, it didn't take that out. Sometimes that, well, I'll show you. I'll tell you exactly why that didn't do that. So what we did was the numbers that they have here, for some reason, they are not corresponding correctly with the ones that are mapped. So here's what I would do at this point. I would say, wow, that property's not coming out. How do I get rid of that property? And here's how I would do that. I would scroll in, and really, in all reality, you could just click on the number. So even if we were zoomed out where we were, you click on the number 28. That's going to show you what address that is. So I can see 3512 Oval Hessen. So I would go, okay, close that out. Back to list 3512 Oval Hessen. Let's see what we have. 3512 Oval Hessen. The reason that wasn't coming out, that's probably still in our right area. Actually, I'm sure it is. But the reason it's not showing up is because it says Lot 6. That's a brand new construction, probably not even mapped out on the coordinates for the GPS, the mapping that we're using. But still, let's just do that. Let's say that it was something that was outside of it. Narrow the listings. I'm willing to bet that helped that. Let's go ahead and map the listings. And so we've got 27. So let's see what that is. Click on that. And 2651 Salem Glen Crossing. Let's take that out. 2651. 2651 Salem Glen Crossing. Take that out. So uncheck that. Let's narrow the listings. Oh, I didn't want to email that. So we're going to close that out. If you accidentally do that, all you have to do is close that out. Let's go back to map listings. Oh, narrow. We wanted to do that first. Let's narrow the listings. And then from here, let's go ahead and map the listings. And we still have another property. So apparently this, yeah, same area. So it's going to keep popping up. But you would just take those out. So then from there, you've at least got a better, let's say the subdivision wasn't working. There wasn't a lot in the subdivision. From there, I had this to work with. So let's go ahead and go to this, and I'll show you what I start to look for. Because we don't want to pull all of this. I don't need you to send me all of this research. In reality, what I need you to do is send me really just a couple that really make sense. And so the first thing I would do here, I would probably, let's go ahead and take out the half baths, because the subject property doesn't have a half bath. It just has 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So from there, I would have hit the half bath, took out all of these. So let's go ahead and do that now. That's just an extra value that, in all reality, it's more added value. It's an extra expense that this home doesn't have. So let's uncheck those. We want to take out all of the half baths. Select function, narrow the listings. And then let's go back to status, because I want to pull this active, pending, and then closed. So you can see that narrowed that list down quite a bit, didn't it? Now the next thing I'm going to look at is, you can see when I'm looking at this, I can see there's a lot of new construction. I mean, it's 2014 right now, and we have 2014s, 2013, 2013. And see, the subject property is, and you're going to have two places for this research, but the most important one is the spec sheet. Year belt's 2003. So we have 2003, and then we have a lot of new construction. These obviously are going to be more valuable than an older home, because that's a brand new home you're moving into. I mean, with this, let's just click on the MLS and pull it up. You got a brand new home. They can maybe pick out their own inside of the colors to start off. I mean, what's better than walking into a brand new home and knowing that it's yours over one that's already been lived in, that you may have to make some changes. You may have to paint some holes in walls from pictures. You don't have to do that with new construction. So what I would do in that case is I would say, okay, well, if that's a 2003 and these are new constructions, the next thing I would look at would be the summary sheet. And I would say, okay, what is this person needing to make? Seller's asking amount is 167. They owe 120. So I would say, okay, if they owe 167, or if they're looking to sell for 167,000, I would go back to the list and I would say, does that look doable from what I'm seeing so far? And I would say, okay, I see one for, that's a far off number. I would take those out completely, because that's new construction. that are a far change of numbers from anything here, except for this pending. It's just too different of a number. So let's just go ahead and take out the most expensive ones. So I would uncheck those boxes, narrow the listings. I'm going to go ahead and go to a new tutorial at this point. So I will see you on the other side.